So I'm here in a urban garden in my hometown. This is where I filmed fox cubs growing up last year. It was really special to watch them in the garden playing with each other and chasing each other. And I told the people whose garden this is and the neighbors to please look out and let me know when fox cubs will be showing this year. And got a message saying a little cub has been sighted crawling around on the lawn all by itself. So that's a little bit concerning because when they're little, they shouldn't be out by themselves. They should be under mum's supervision and with other cubs, and also not really out in the daytime. So I brought my trail camera, which is motion activated. I hope to see a mum coming. So fingers crossed that the little cub is okay and won't need rescuing.
Look who we got here. A little baby all by itself that should be in the warm nest.
I just can't believe it's been out all by itself. It's only about 3 weeks old. It's bitterly cold out here and the little one is shivering. And when I got here earlier, I saw the little one trying to suckle the grass. So obviously seems to be very hungry and thirsty. So I phoned a local rescue and we've agreed that this little cub has to come inside so we can warm them up now quickly. Oh, baby. Hello. Poor baby. I know. He's on a hot water bottle now and I'm wearing gloves so I don't leave a human scent. Oh, baby. Oh, breaking crying. It breaks my heart. You're safe now.
We were hoping that we might be able to put him out tonight in the hope that Mum might come back and find him, but we think due to the weather and his present condition that he should go to the vets and then be moved on to a wildlife hospital.
Yeah, let's keep
Alright,
him
so-
warm, put him in. I'm really relieved, to be honest, because when I held the little one and I saw how much he needed the warmth and the support, I thought, I don't know if I have the heart to put him out into the cold garden again at night. So yeah, he's been taken to be assessed by a vet. He'll be rescued. He'll be snuggled up with other cubs, which is really important because they give each other warmth and affection and they learn from each other. And he'll be well fed, he or she. And the lovely lady who called me and told me you should check on this cub, it looks a bit lost and forlorn, called the little one Larry, because when the little one was curled up in my lap on the hot water bottle, he seemed really happy, he or she. So the lady said, happy as Larry, and the name stuck. Today is a big day for Larry and friends. After having been kept in a darkened incubator to simulate a fox den for 2 weeks, they are let out into an enclosure for the very first time. Everything is new and exciting for them. They are curious to discover this new world. And even little Larry, who is the smallest of the 3 cubs, dares to explore.
The fox cubs out for the first time So it's a big difference for them. So sometimes they either go under their house or hide in the corner, and it takes them, a few minutes to get used to it. And sometimes, like these guys, which is really nice, they come out and play and explore straight away, which is very nice to see.
Even though this new space is enormous compared to the incubator, the cubs want to know what is beyond that wall. Ginger, the oldest cub, emerges as an early leader, egging his surrogate siblings on to explore, break free, and jump over the wall. Who knows what lies beyond? There could be fields and forests, and maybe even more food.
When they always moved into a bigger cage, they always want more space because they are wild animals. So he thinks that if he can jump over the wall, that he'd be able to get out. But in reality, when we move the fox cubs into a bigger enclosure, it is always a little bit daunting. So we take it step at a time. So they get to the next size up, then they get moved to the next size up, and then the next one, and then eventually they are released.
2 weeks later, the cubs have settled into their new home. All three wear a fluffy, rusty-coloured coat now. They are very cute, but for the fox's sake, their carers must resist the temptation to cuddle them.
So we are very hands-off. We like our foxes to be foxes. We don't want them to become humanised. They already face enough persecution, and the only interaction they will have with us is we go in there, spot clean them every day, clean them fully once or twice a week, and we change food and water. We don't touch them, we don't cuddle them, we have no interaction. The only interaction they need is each other. So they'll play, they'll rough and tumble, they do everything they need with each other.
The foxes play endlessly every night. This is not just for fun, but also makes them stronger and determines their hierarchy in the group. Playfully, they learn how to fight. Ginger usually comes out on top.
Foxes practice hunting and stalking with each other like foxes would do in the wild, and although they don't have something alive to hunt and stalk, they do it with all their toys and stuff like that, so we encourage their natural behaviours.
The cubs are now 3 months old, and toys are all the rage. Larry is still the runt of the litter and often draws the short straw. But then he discovers a toy he wants all for himself and learns to dig his heels in. Practice makes perfect. Persistence pays off. His strength and confidence impresses Ginger and surprises himself. So I've just seen Larry. He looks absolutely beautiful. He's grown so much. He's almost the same size like his surrogate siblings, but also he seems to have grown lots and lots in confidence. It's so beautiful to see, and I'm really happy and excited to see what the next steps of this journey will be. The cubs are growing up fast and started to use every inch of their double enclosure. At 5 months old, playing Catch Me If You Can is far more exciting than playing with toys. Their speed, agility and strength is increasing daily. The cubs have now grown into proper juvenile foxes, and they chew anything they can get their paws on and their teeth into. My trail camera has become a victim of this behavior. As you can see, they've snapped off the front gate of the camera, playing a bit too roughly with it. It's no biggie. I can get it replaced, and it's a small price to pay for the insights we get into the secret life of foxes. At 6 months old, the cubs are now almost fully grown and should be released soon. Larry can't be re-released in the urban garden where he was rescued, as his clan would no longer recognize him. The urban environment would also be completely unfamiliar and potentially dangerous to him. But to find a suitable release site is easier said than done. A release in the countryside needs to happen in an area where no hunting takes place and requires the permission of a sympathetic landowner. A gradual, so-called soft release is desirable, but a hard release is sadly often the only option. So I just found out that Larry and friends will have what's called a hard release. That means they will be let go from one day to the other. It won't be a gradual process, but they will be let go without a backup system, just released in a place into the countryside that's pre-approved with the landowners. But they won't be monitored anymore, and they won't have shelter anymore or a source of food. I do worry because I think they've grown up for 6 months, being fed every day and having a secure, safe place to sleep. And suddenly they're being released in the countryside and have to learn from one day to the other to find food, water, shelter. So it's a tough call. Obviously, many foxes cope that are hard released. The instincts kick in quickly, but a soft release would be preferable because it means the foxes continue to be monitored and will get the odd scraps of food, and they will have a shelter. If they're released from an enclosure, the door will be left open and they can go back in if they want the shelter for a little while, and just have sort of a base from which they can navigate from. And trail cameras will be left rolling just to monitor and see that they're okay. So I kind of really, really hope that it might still work out for Larry and friends, that we do find a release site for them where the process of bewildering is more gradual and the release is gradual. Larry and friends are now fully grown and have been waiting to be released for almost a month. All hard release options fell through, but luckily for them, a soft release is now on the cards. I volunteered to help. I'm here in a beautiful woodland at a secret location. This is private land, and a very, very kind, nice person has got an enclosure here inside the woodland where foxes that are on a soft release can live until they go into the big wide world. They get used to a woodland environment. They get pond water, so their stomach gets used to bugs and things. They get fed natural foods like roadkill, and eventually the door will be left open for them. So it is up to the animal to go when they're ready to go, but they can return. And sometimes they return for a few days after and look for scraps of food that will be left out for them, and maybe even seek for the shelter. But some of them just go and never return. It all depends how ready they are to be released and how confident they are. But I'm really happy. This really is the best outcome for Larry and friends. Larry is lucky again, he is lucky Larry, that we are allowed to let him go here. This feels very special. Oh, you're heavy. You've grown. You were tiny when I picked you up. You only weighed about 300 grams. Go on, Larry. Oh. He's heavy now. He's a big boy. He's around 6 kilos, and when I first picked him up, he was just a tiny cub, and now he's grown into a big fox, and I want him out there not long, and he'll be free. It took Larry a while to settle into his new temporary home. In the first night, he was especially unsettled. Everything smelled and looked different. The woodland on the doorstep must have presented an exciting but also daunting prospect. He tried to relax, but sleep did not come easily and was light when he eventually drifted off. Once rested, the boys had breakfast, not served in a bowl, but on the bone, which was a new experience. The young foxes could feel it in their bones. Everything has changed, and a new chapter in their lives was about to begin. So I'm currently at the enclosure where Larry and friends temporarily live in until they're free. As you can see behind me, there's woodland, and once they're ready, that's where they're going to go. They are big and grown, but they are not ready in a sense, as they are not sort of feeling this call to the wild. And what we're waiting for is them to go restless and pace up and down the cage, jump, try to get out, wanting to run in the woods and be free. At the moment, if the door was left open, we're pretty sure they wouldn't even set a foot outside. And we want them to be able to not only roam free, but fend for themselves. Today I've brought them some pheasants that I found, some roadkill. It was a bit weird picking it up, but it is the best food for them, and we'll see how they get on, and hopefully they will learn and understand that that is food, and now the food isn't being cut up for them anymore. They have to do it themselves. Surprisingly, Larry was the first to tuck into the pheasant. He discovered that his razor-sharp teeth are perfect to dissect the bird and tear meat off the bones. Ginger and Spice also had a nibble. It was Larry who cached the remains of the pheasant for a rainy day, just as foxes do in the wild. This behavior looked encouraging. But in the following days, it became apparent that the foxes were still not ready to be re-released into the wild. Living for most of their lives in a confined space, ruled by humans, had made them surrender. They were placated instead of restless. Autumn was here, and soon the window for their release would close. I was worried. Strange as I started to see the countryside kind of like how a fox would see it. So I'm seeing all these little apples here and lots of acorns. So definitely now in autumn there's a real bounty here for the foxes. I can hear the pheasant in the distance, and I've just seen a few bunnies running. Oh, I just wish the foxes could be out here doing their own thing. I don't know if I'm romanticizing their freedom, but I think freedom beats being locked up in a square box with every day the same and nothing to do anytime. I know there are dangers and I know it's going to be a challenge for them, but I think once they're out, they will thrive. Today is the day where we're going to leave the door to the enclosure open for the first time. And it's a beautiful day. It's perfect for the release. It's dry, it's sunny, it's warm. It's still almost full moon, so they got lots of light at night to navigate. Very, very big day for you. You're going to be free. In preparation for the fox's release, I set up the trail cameras one more time. This would enable us to monitor how they are coping with their new life. So my guess is tonight that Ginger, the most grown-up one and bossy one of the three, might go out first and run and not come back. And then Larry and Spice might stay behind because they're more shy. But you never know. And also it seems that Ginger and Spice have formed a very close bond. I saw them earlier curled up, sleeping together in their compost bin. So sweet, like in a nest. But the thing is, it wouldn't last if we kept them here because they're all boys. And eventually when their hormones kick in, there would be trouble. So they need to be let go. They need to roam, they need to be able to find a mate, they need to be able to establish a territory and have a family of their own. Because otherwise the alternative would be that each of them individually would be kept on someone's land in a little enclosure like this, you know, solitary confinement for the rest of their days, and that's not what I want for them. So I can't believe it just happened. Larry has not been released because we didn't do it to him. He set himself free in a way. I opened the door for him, and within 10 seconds of me tiptoeing away, he was out. And he didn't run. He had a really good look around. He looked over his shoulder, back at his cage. And then you could just see in his face how it was sinking in. Wow, there's a world, you know, beyond those four walls. And I can take it, I can conquer it. And it was so beautiful to see, to watch him disappear into the darkness of the woodland till his white-tipped tail disappeared. My mind is at ease now. I had so many bad nights with nightmares about these foxes. I've been worrying so much. I felt so guilty about them being captive for so long and him being locked up. And then I was feeling worried and guilty and thinking, is it okay to let him go? You know, how will he find his way in life? And I was worried about that. And now I know it was the right time to let him go. He is ready and he's going to do well out there. He's cautious but also brave, and he's a tough cookie, and I think he's going to have a long and happy and healthy life. The following morning, Larry returned with a spring in his step. Revisiting his old home, he decided once more that living in a cage was not for him. The woodland is a far more exciting playground. Ginger and Spice had both left within half an hour after Larry's departure. For 3 more nights, the boys touched base at the enclosure and greeted each other with excitement. But then the draw of the wild proved irresistible to the young foxes, and they moved further afield, living their wild and free lives.
We can make a difference. This just showed me we can save lives. And by doing that and by documenting it, we say these lives matter. And I think that's a ripple effect, and that's important. And we have to keep on doing it because nature and wildlife and animals and foxes need us.